All right, now you can hear me. There we go. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
I know I'm doing this special role here on the side today, and I'm your platform assistant. I'm Reverend Kathy, for those who maybe don't know me. And we start out Sunday mornings with a sing-along. So I'm going to invite you to stand. The words are on your screen. It's a Christmas song, you know. It came upon a midnight clear. There we go. It came upon a midnight clear, that glorious song of old, from angels bending near the earth to touch their harps of gold. You got a voice. He saw the earth goodwill to men, from heaven's all gracious King. The world in solemn stillness lay, to hear the angels sing. To hear the cloven skies they come, with peaceful wings unfurled, and still their heavenly music floats o'er all the weary world. He saw the earth goodwill to men, from heaven's all gracious King. The world in solemn stillness lay, to hear the angels sing, to hear the angels sing. Thank you. You can be seated. Thank you, Pat. I love the ending. Loved it. Well, good morning, everyone. And as I said, I'm Reverend Kathy, and I want to just welcome each and every one of you in love and light and joy and peace for this season. I would like to just start with, first of all, opening prayer. And however prayer works for you, I just invite you to just let go of stuff in your hands and just take a moment. Just take a moment to go within. It's the Advent season. And last week we had lit the candle for hope and faith. And so as you center in to that hope and faith of this season, remembering that when your hope is shaking, it's because your faith is shaking. So when you can bolster up your faith, you'll bolster up hope. And we all can use hope. And today we focus on peace, and we'll be lighting that in just a little bit. So let's just take a moment to feel that presence of God, whether your eyes are opened or closed or looking out the windows, this wonderful picture of Jesus walking on the water, representing the highest form of faith. That walking on the water is a representation of the faith that we can all have in ourselves and in that spirit within. So we thank you, Father, Mother, God, great Spirit of this universe. We thank you for this glorious, beautiful day. Warmer temperatures. Oh, what a beautiful day to have. We are blessed. We thank you for all the wonderful gifts in our life. We thank you that each and every one of us got up, suited up, and showed up here this morning. What a blessing that is. We thank you for the spirit of this season, which is faith and hope, peace, love, and joy of the season. May each and every one of us look for those attributes throughout our day, because they're there. As we move through this service today in joy and celebration and love, we just say thank you, God, and so it is. Amen. So I want to just welcome each and every one of you. Unity honors all paths to God. And truly, as long as your path is about treating people good and kind and decent, you have a home here. And so we welcome each and every one of you in that spirit of love and light. And I would like to remind you all to put your cell phones on vibrate or silent. And along the lines of prayer, we have an affirmation prayer that we say for our church every week. And I'd like you to say this together with us. The words are on your screen there as we affirm the truth. Unity of Garden Park is a radiating center of divine love and light, mighty to attract our good and to radiate good to others. There is only one presence and one power active in the universe and in my life, God the good, omnipotence. So with that, I would like to ask, if you don't mind, let's just check and see if there's anyone here for the first time. Ushers, if you don't mind, just take a peek. Anyone here for the first time, we have a welcome packet for you. And in there is a coupon. There we go. Be brave, because the coupon's worth it to go in the bookstore gift shop afterwards. Many, many wonderful gifts in there, and as well as Christmas cards that are by donation only. So if you need some cards, please pick them up in the bookstore. That would be awesome. Today is 50-cent Church Sunday. And so again, I invite the ushers. Do we have the 50-cent church plates? What this is, I want to explain this just in case. This is our moment to do an in-reach to our community. As I tell you many times, this comes from back in the 30s when Mayor LaGuardia took over Night Court in New York, and his first case was to see a woman who was being charged for stealing a loaf of bread. And he pounded the gavel down and said, "Ma'am, I'm sorry, I do have to charge you 50 cents for violation and stealing a loaf of bread." And then he pounded the gavel down again in the courtroom and said, "I now charge each and every participant sitting here in this courtroom 50 cents because it's a crime that a woman has to." And so I read that years ago, and I said, why can't we be the 50-cent church? So once a month we collect change, dollars, whatever you are able to just give, and it gives somebody help in our congregation towards a utility bill, towards just gas in their car, Kroger's, whatever. And so I just thank you for being generous for that. It's a once a month thing we do around here. And let's see, I think, yes, really time to release the youth. So Miss Sandy, who is our YFM director, and her helpers, and let's get the kids to join them. I know she's got a great book. I saw the book that they're going to be reading today. So we'll see you after church and touch base with you. Thank you. So again, I welcome each and every one of you in love and light. And it is just so happy to be on this end of it. And I'll be introducing our guest musician and speaker here today. And Pat, I want to acknowledge you. Thank you for coming. I know you're technically somewhat retired. And yeah, that's funny, isn't it? But he is taking Yvette's place while Yvette gets the opportunity to go home to Taiwan to see her family after many years of not being able to travel. So thank you for that, Pat. So with that, it's time for our daily word to be read by Kay Nelson, please.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
So happy to see the sun. Makes you smile. For Sunday, December 8th, 2024, the word is peace. I give the gift of peace. I begin the second week of Advent by affirming peace for myself and all beings and letting the peace of God flow through me. Peaceful living does not mean isolation from noise or turmoil. It means calm.
Oh. It's just water, so it'll be okay.
Speaking of calm, even...
In the spite of turmoil, right?
Yes,
There we go.
right. Even in the middle of the hubbub. At this time of year, when so many seem busy and rushed, I rely on the peace of God that resides within to promote calm in my home, in my life, and in the world. Prayer helps me stay centered, serene, and relaxed so I can be an instrument of peace. Holding thoughts of tranquility and affirming peace in every heart, I move through this day and Advent season affirming kindness and compassion. I give the gift of peace as I let it flow from my heart like ripples on a lake, sustaining each person in concentric circles of tranquility and goodwill. And from Romans 15:33, the God of peace be with all of you.
And along those lines, we'll go ahead and light the candle for peace. The candle for faith and hope is already lit. There we go. And with that, I want to put up the affirmation for the week, which is about peace. Okay, thank you. So, affirmation, please. There we go. I know God's peace is always available within me. Let's say that together. I know that God's peace is always available within me. Now let's say it again, and I want you to focus on that word within. Ready? I know God's peace is always available within me. Breathe that in. Yeah. Despite turmoil. Don't sweat the small stuff, right? It's not red wine, it's water. So all is well. So it is time now for me to introduce to you our guest speaker, Greg Tamblyn. And I want to just tell you that I met Greg in Unity of Sebring last winter. Michael and I go for the month of February to Florida, and I get to guest speak at some of the churches. And then I visited Unity of Sebring, and he was guest music and speaker that day. And afterwards, I said, "Oh, I gotta see if he'll travel to Cincinnati." And God love him. He arrived at our house at almost 10 o'clock last night, driving straight through from Kansas City. And we've just had a wonderful visit last night as we all three wound down and then went on to bed. But you're in for a real treat. So I want to just give you a little bit of a bio here. He's a speaker, he's a musician, and he has the initials NCW by his name. NCW, no credentials whatsoever. Greg combines a lifetime of interest in consciousness and wellness with an irreverent sense of humor. His songs and stories range from deeply spiritual to irreverently funny, including the shootout at the I'm okay, you're okay corral, and Jesus was a bachelor. Many of Greg's songs have won awards, including a recent Lifetime Achievement Award at the Posse Music Awards. The Grammys of Positive Music is what that is. That's big. Yes. We'll get to hear some of these award-winning songs in his talk and also later in his comedy concert if you have not seen what's coming after service today. Greg performs internationally for a wide variety of groups interested in wellness, and once a year he leads small tours of positive spiritual people to fun and exotic destinations. He has written and recorded 7 CDs, plus a book of true stories that open the heart and tickle the funny bone. They are all available here today outside in the lobby, and he'll be manning that table afterwards to be able to talk with all of you. His ongoing mission in life is saving the world from whiny victim love songs. Welcome, Greg Tamblyn. There you go.
Thanks, everybody. Really, really good to be back. I was actually here about 20 years ago, so it's been a long time. And I really, really do want to thank everybody for making me feel welcome this morning, because you all have. I want to thank Joe for getting me all wired up here. Thank you, Joe. And Pat for playing that amazing version of Here, There, and Everywhere, which was so beautiful. I just heard Paul McCartney say he thinks that's his favorite song that he's written. So it was lovely to hear it. So I'm really, really happy to be here. I want to thank Kathy and Michael for hosting me and their pups. They're beautiful pups. So much fun. And I want to speak this morning, share some thoughts about big mysteries, cosmic questions, and what I feel is the most helpful attitude to have about these big questions when we encounter them. So how best to approach them. Now, I like to joke about this NCW degree. Anybody else have that one? So I know it's a growing club. But the reality is I did escape from college with a real degree, a BS. A BS in geology. Yeah, it's true. Wanted to be a rock star. No, I was fascinated by all the big questions that geology looks at, the big mysteries. You know, how our planet and all the other planets and moons in our solar system and our sun, how they came together and formed out of that big cloud of gas and dust. You know, that's still not really clear how that happens, but we have all these planets and moons in our solar system, and they're all so different. It's fascinating how different they are from each other. So we're finding out all kinds of things about that. Somehow, on this planet, about 3.7 billion years ago, we got organic matter out of inorganic matter. We don't know how that happened, but life began. We think it might have even come from an asteroid or a comet. We're not sure yet. But then over the last 3.5 billion years, out of all the trillion, quadrillion, million possibilities, evolutionary possibilities, somehow we get to be the dominant species at this little tiny micro moment in geologic time. And then all of these geologic processes that go on under our feet every day, all day long, all over the world, how they affect our experience of existence. So all of this is fascinating to me. I still study it, read about it all the time. But it wasn't long after college that I realized I was even more interested in what I think of as bigger mysteries. Like, what is God? If God exists, then what is God like? What is consciousness? This amazing ability we have to self-reflect and plan, imagine, and it's a huge mystery, consciousness. We don't know how that happens. What is death? What happens to consciousness after death? What is free will? Is that a real thing? Is it true that on some level everything is really connected? What is love? What are women really thinking? Big mysteries. So I thought we could have some fun with a couple of those this morning and see where it takes us. So if we're going to start, really the logical place to start is God. God's kind of the big mystery. If we get to the point where we accept there is God, God of your imagination, God of your belief, God of your consciousness, well, what is God like? Well, you've noticed that down through the centuries, a lot of people have tried to tell us what God is like. Whether they knew or not, they thought they knew, and they told us what God is like. But we have a lot of different versions of that. I'm interested in the fact that what God is like for me is a lot different than it was 40 years ago. What I think of as God is way different than, anybody relate to that? How you feel about God now is different, right? Which I thought was kind of funny, because I don't think God's changed much in 40 years. So that felt like a song idea. So my friend Richard and I came up with a song called A Brief History of God. Now, you know I'm a science guy, so I try to slip some science into these songs when I can. So in the last verse of this song, we added some physics. I had trouble with physics. I don't mind admitting I had trouble. I thought it said psychics when I signed up, but it wasn't what I expected. But seriously, there's a new theory, a new idea in physics called string theory. You probably heard that term, string theory. So when we get to the part of the song about strings, you'll know that it's physics. So this is called A Brief History of God, or G-string theory. In the beginning there was lots of competition, goddesses and gods of every disposition, from merciful to mean, from laid back to hyper, and little baby gods that flew around in diapers. Animals, pranksters, destroyers, creators, flute players, lute players, nymphs and satyrs. So many gods it was hard to keep them sorted. God had multiple personality disorder. Well, keeping track of all these gods was no fun. So finally some people said, let's cut it down to one. But the one God was angry, always finding fault. There was banishment and floods and pillars of salt. Well, why? Was God traumatized at an early age by standing too close to the Big Bang? Was it nature or nurture or Satan's little goblins? God had anger, management problems. God had other issues that mess with serenity, like this long-term question of sexual identity. The feminine divine or the male autonomous. God was so confused. Am I androgynous? And then on top of that, what was challenging the most was trying to figure out what the heck's the Holy Ghost. God needed time off and checked into a clinic. And poor old God was becoming schizophrenic. While in for treatment, God sent some folks to teach us, like Krishna, Buddha, Muhammad, Jesus. On some things they agree, on many things they don't. And if you choose the wrong one, some say your soul is toast. Now everybody's praying by all these different rules. Muslims 5 times a day, Buddhists quite a few, Hindus, Jews, and Christians whenever there's a need, and Unitarians would rather plant a tree. Well, God's come a long way from that early dysfunction, and now science has brought us to this beautiful junction. The key to the theory is that every single thing is made up entirely of vibrating strings. Well, this is what musicians have known all along. The universe is really one big song. And there you have it, friends. That's the story so far. We're all just musical strings in God's big guitar. Thank you. It's a happy thought, isn't it? We're always vibrating. We never stop. The trick is to stay in tune. Stay in tune. Relationships are a lot about staying in tune with each other. We'll come back to that in a minute. So a lot of people down through the ages have told us that God is love. We like that answer. We love that answer, because what feels better than love? Really nothing. As an observer, once again, I'm kind of fascinated by this word love, because I think it was Margaret Atwood that said, the Eskimos have 50 different words for snow, different kinds of snow. We only have this one word for love. For all this huge range of emotional experiences, we just have one word, love. There's just divine love, earthly love, brotherly love, motherly love, Faded love, jaded love, mystical love, physical love, unrequited love, unconditional love, puppy love, love of chocolate chip cookies, and the big one for me, romantic love, which is still a huge mystery, I think. I'm fascinated by the fact that we can be standing in front of two identical twins and have this amazing connection and rapport and attraction and magnetism with one of them and nothing with the other one. How does that happen? How is it that love can be so strong for a while, maybe even decades, but then change over time or even fade away? It's really an interesting situation. Now, what about this? How many of us either believe in or have experienced love at first sight? Don't be shy. Go ahead. Okay, so it's about half of us, which is about normal. So it's happened to me a lot. Usually goes something like this. A man is riding on a train. He's heading south, it starts to rain. He sings a soft and sad refrain. He thinks he'll never love again. On the other track, a train is heading north through the rain. A woman looks out her window pane. Her life has been a lonely game. The two trains pass, they're moving fast. Faces flicker past. For half a beat, their two eyes meet. And instantly they both can see that they were meant to be. Yes, it happened just like that. It hit them like a thunderclap. Somehow they had seen the answer to their dreams passing on the other track. So at the next stop he gets off. A love like that must not be lost. He takes the next train heading north. He does not know she's done the same. So they pass again. For half a beat, their two eyes meet. But something's changed, it's not the same. Now they can see they were not meant to be. Well, she knew someday it would have to end. She wonders if they'll still be friends. All the plans he made all begin to fade as she disappears around the bend. He will never be the same. Deep in his heart she will remain. He looks out through the falling rain. He thinks he'll never love again. I think he's gonna love again. And again and again and again and again. Thank you. Maybe you've had a relationship like that. Brief. Linda Berry, cartoonist Linda Berry, said, "Love is an exploding cigar we willingly smoke." John Bradshaw, remember John Bradshaw? He said, "Falling in love, in reality, is actually a high-octane endocrine hormone cocktail." And it is. Science has measured this now, and we know that when we fall in love, the hormonal changes that happen are big and measurable, and they last typically from 6 to 18 months. Then they revert to wherever they were before. So for a relationship to last beyond that hormone cocktail, to me it makes sense that it has to be based on something other than the hormone cocktail. Something deeper, something more profound, maybe something even sacred. Well, love, I feel like because of that, love is a word, we should at least have two words, like the Greeks, eros for romantic love and agape for the sort of brotherly, divine type of love. And that way, if we wanted to tell somebody we love them, but we don't want there to be any confusion about what's going to happen, we could say, I agape you. Then it's just clear. Love is a word I use with music. I love music. I can't imagine my life without music. I love this guitar. I'm crazy about this guitar. Before I loved this guitar, I loved a different guitar. I did. I had this Takamine, that's a brand of guitar, and it's a much bigger guitar. It was what they call a dreadnought size, and it was made out of maple. You don't see that very often, so it had this really beautiful, very striking kind of blonde finish. And so it was a very pretty guitar, but it also was a good guitar that dependable, and I'd been all over the planet with it and for a long time, and I really loved that guitar. And at the same time, as much as I loved that guitar, I started having this idea that I wanted a different guitar to travel with. And I wanted something that fingerpicked more easily, a little smaller, better electronics, a couple other things. So I was really thinking about this a lot, and the more I thought about it, the more I thought I really want a new guitar. But I wasn't doing anything about it because I don't like shopping for guitars. I'm picky. It's hard for me to find one I like. I have smaller hands. It has to fit my hand. And also because most guitar stores are staffed by what we could call young rock musicians. Now this is not a knock on young rock musicians, because I used to be one, but just tell me if in your mind these two things go together. Young rock musicians, great customer service. Not always. So anyway, I'm putting it off for months until fate intervenes, of all places, in the Honolulu airport, in the form of a woman I will affectionately call Attila the gate agent. I'm walking up to the gate counter with my guitar in my soft case on my shoulder, fits overhead in the plane or in the closet. This is how we travel with our guitars mostly. Anyway, I'm walking up to the gate counter and I get about 15 feet away, and she sees me coming, and she just, in a really loud voice, she says, looks at me and points at me, and she says, "That is not going on the plane with you." I thought, what is that about? Where's that coming from? I just kind of did a right turn. I thought, well, I don't know what's going on here, but I know that she doesn't understand that I'm a professional musician, and she just needs to know that, So I go up, I give her a big smile. I said, "Hey, you know what? I'm a professional musician. I fly your airline all the time. I got a concert in San Francisco, and I'm going on and on." She interrupts me. She says, No, I don't think you heard me. That is not going on the plane with you. And walks off. So I thought, well, okay, this is going to be harder than I thought. So I give it some more thought, and I go back up, give her a big smile. I said, "Hey, you know what? You're probably worried about the load, huh? Maybe you're worried about how about we let everybody board the plane? I'll get on last, and we'll see if there's room." And I knew there'd be room because it was one of those giant planes. And she says, "I've already told you twice. It's not going on the plane with you. Now stop bothering me and decide what you're going to do." And walks off. Well, now everybody's starting to board this plane, and I'm getting scared, a little worried, I should say, nervous. And finally, I just resort to begging. I just go up to her and I start pleading, could we just try? Could we just give it a shot? Could we just talk to a flight attendant? Could we just maybe see if there's room before you say no? And she's just stone cold, and she says, "No. You have two choices. You can leave it here, you can check it, it's not going with you." I said, okay. So I gave her the guitar, and off she went. And I get on board. It turns out I'm in the front row of coach. They call this the bulkhead. And across from me is the little jump seat, well, one of them. And there's a flight attendant sitting there, and the plane's taking a long time to taxi, so we start talking. I tell her the whole story about Attila. And to her credit, she listens to the whole thing, and when I'm finished, she's just appalled. And she says, I just can't believe this. I just have to apologize for our airline. We are not like this. We know these instruments are important. We try to accommodate you guys, and you really need to know this is not what normally happens. Please accept my apology for our airline. And she got up to go to work, and I felt better, and I thought that was the end of it. But when we got to San Francisco, it was my turn to get off the plane. All the flight attendants are lined up there by the door, and I'm walking by, and they said, hey, wait, you're the guy with the guitar. Here, they brought it up. Let's give it to you. And I said, oh, that's nice. And then I thought, well, let's look at it. And I opened my soft case, and it's splinters. It's shattered. It's like the baggage guys thought they were Pete Townsend at a Who concert. So it wasn't going to be played anymore. That was clear. And I felt bad. They felt bad. 3 of them walked me down to baggage service, and they said, now look, here's our names and employee numbers and phone numbers, and this guy got a bad deal, and we think you need to make it right because this should not have happened. And then they left because it was midnight and they had to go to work the next day. So here I am, it's midnight, I'm in the bowels of the San Francisco airport. There's nobody around anywhere except this girl across the counter who looks about 12. And she looks up at me with this really sweet face and she says, I can't help you. I just work here. I don't have any authority to do anything. Now, if you want to come back tomorrow morning and talk to the manager, you can talk to the manager and maybe she can help you, but you need to understand that we have a very firm policy. We never compensate for musical instruments, ever. It's just something we don't do. But if you want to come back in the morning, you can come back. So I go to where I'm spending the night. And you know how sometimes it's really hard to go to sleep when you're upset? And my feelings for Attila were not something I could share with you outside of group therapy. And I couldn't sleep. I was so angry and frustrated, and I get up in the morning just exhausted from all of that. And I'm driving out to the airport. I felt so bad, I just started praying. I just said, God, you know what? Please help me be calm. That's all I want. I just want to be calm. I don't care what happens. I will let go of this whole thing. Please just help me feel some peace. And it worked. By the time I got there, I felt okay. And I went in, the manager was there, we sat down, I told her the whole story, I had the names and numbers, and she listened, didn't say anything until I was finished, and then she just kind of shook her head and said, wait a minute, and she disappeared for a while, and eventually came back with this other woman, an even higher manager, and they sat down and they said, look, we have this company policy, we don't compensate for musical instruments. I said, yeah, I know, I've heard that. They said, well, we've talked it over, and we think we need to buy you a new guitar. I said, really? And they said, yeah, just find one you like, and we'll pay for it. So I got out of there before they could say anything else, and I asked my musician friends in San Francisco, where do I go? I got to get a guitar now. Where do I go? And they said, really, there's only one place. The best place is the Haight-Ashbury Music Center. Okay, so off I go to Haight-Ashbury. Now, I don't know if any of you have been there lately, but I'm from Kansas. And Haight-Ashbury is like this little corner of the Twilight Zone. It's like, you see the past, the present, the future. It's all there. It's on the sidewalk. You walk around, you see it, you smell it. It's like a smorgasbord for the senses. I'm cruising around Haight-Ashbury looking for this store, getting a little high in the process. And finally, I find it. It turns out to be a great store. They have great guitars, wonderful salespeople, and for 2 days, they bring me guitars and let me play them. They don't bug me, they don't pressure me, they just bring me guitars, answer my questions. And after a couple of days, they brought me this. And as soon as I picked it up, I knew this was it. I mean, it just felt so good. And then they let me take it out of the store and do a concert that night. So that's when I knew this was my new guitar. All right, well, this guitar is way better than my old guitar. It's way more fun to play. It's easier to play, it sounds better, it's got better electronics, it's a better size. Everything about it is better. And it was $600 more than my old guitar, totally paid for by the airline. And the thing is, I owe it all to Attila, the gate agent. You never know who's going to turn out to be an angel in your life. They might not look like it at first. You might not find out until a lot later that they were an angel in your life. But, when this happens, and I know it's happened to all of us, it really fills me with a sense of wonder, because I feel like maybe everything is connected in a way I can't possibly understand. A lot of physicists are saying that now, in the quantum level, everything is really interconnected. It's true that all of us have atoms, that we've breathed in from Jesus and Buddha and a lot of, almost everybody in the last few thousand years. So, as I said, that idea fills me with a sense of wonder, and I feel like wonder is kind of the key word here. Because what the best scientists and the best mystics have in common is a sense of wonder at the working of the universe. Einstein, Carl Sagan, Yogananda, Meister Eckhart, mystics, all of them communicate this sense of wonder and awe at the workings of the universe, and how scientists now, or doctors, are telling us this is really important to feel this every day. In fact, Einstein said that 100 years ago. So a sense of wonder is really important. The other thing is the best of those, the ones, the mystics and the scientists that we remember as our teachers, are ones that also can bring a sense of humor to it. Take it lightly, not take life too seriously, remembering to have some humor about it. So humor and wonder are the two ways that I get through the day. I have to go there every day. I have to have some wonder, I have to have some humor, and they pretty much keep me relatively sane. So that's my lesson for today. Now, obviously, there's a lot more mysteries that we can get to later in the day. I have some songs about some of these other things we mentioned earlier. But I want to finish with a Karl Rahner quote. He's a German theologian who said, there are two kinds of people in the world. People who need certainty and people who seek understanding. I would just suggest to you that it's better to be a seeker of understanding for this reason. When you're sure you're right, you're stuck with what you already know. Does that make sense? When you're sure you're right, the learning stops. So better to be a seeker. All right, well, let's take these thoughts into meditation. And what I'm going to do is just a little bit of noodling here. And I'm thinking, of what I'm going to give you. A couple of prayerful thoughts, I think, is what we'll do. Now, I know we have a lot of good singers in this group, so I'm going to ask you to hum this little tune with me. It's the lower part of the Heart of the Mother chant, which you might have heard. It goes like this. Let's try that. One more. Let's all take a nice big slow breath and feel our pew supporting our weight. Just let our body relax into our seat. Let's take a nice big breath and breathe in the peace of God and feel that fill our whole body and our whole being. And I'll offer you this prayer by an 18th century theologian named Phillips Brooks. Do not pray for easy lives. Pray to be stronger men and women. Do not pray for tasks equal to your powers. Pray for powers equal to your tasks. Then the doing of your work shall be no miracle, but you shall be a miracle. And every day you shall wonder at the richness of life which has come to you by the grace of God. Let all things be healthy. Let all things be peaceful. Be sure to count your blessings at least once a day. Have self-control, self-knowledge, self-respect, and the courage to dare. Be tranquil. The light of intelligence will survive. And strive to make a spot where you stand beautiful. Then the beauty and harmony will follow you in all your ways and in all your days on this journey we call life. Let's do that together. All right, let's take a nice big breath, come back to the room, and thank you so much for the gift of your attention. I actually have one more song I'm going to play in a minute or two, but I think there's a couple of things we do before that, or is that not right?
Yes, would you have some announcements? I'm new at this. Let's see, Greg, what are we doing here? Yes, we are. We're going to bless the love offerings here in a minute, and then we'll have another song from you.
Okay.
Are you good? Go ahead. All right. Thank you. Thank you.
No, you're welcome.
Oh, I was in a zone there. Sorry, but I really was in a zone. Thank you. That was wonderful. Okay, it's time for our blessing of our love offerings and our prayer requests. And one thing that I did forget to do was acknowledge our Facebook audience this morning. So I apologize, and we welcome you and glad that you've been with us here today. And stay tuned because there's more to come. So I want to make sure that I did that. And our prayer chaplain today, if you have filled out a prayer request that's in the pew, I ask you to please send them to the center because our prayer chaplain today is Elizabeth, and she will be following behind the love offerings and collecting the prayer requests. Those prayers are then sent out to the chaplains, usually by tomorrow morning, and then those are held in prayer by our chaplains for 7 days, and then sent on to Silent Unity for another 30. So you are really supported in prayer. So please, if you filled anything out, send it to the center so Elizabeth can collect that. She will also be available immediately after service in the prayer room, which is on the way to the restrooms to the left, and she will be available for private prayer if you would like to take advantage of having a chaplain to be able to pray with you. It's a really awesome experience in there. So with that, let's take our love offerings in our hands, and if you have something physically to give, if you are a giver through the Sustained Giving program, which means that you've signed up to do electronic transfer, whether it's bank, Venmo, or whatever way it comes through the ethers to support this ministry, I want you to grab one of these in the pew that says, I'm a sustained giver, because this is the way that you bless it, and you put it in the love offering bag, acknowledging that the way you give, bless it, right? Because through these ethers, we don't see it anymore. So I want you to know that it is blessed, and you are blessed, whatever way you give today. So let's hold that in our hands as we say our blessing together. Divine love expressed through me blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. I have faith in God as my instant, constant, and abundant supply. Thank you, God. There we go.
Well, this is a song about a disease I have occasionally, the disease of having to be right. Anybody else have that one? All right, well, you've probably had this conversation at some point. This is called My Ride Home from Neptune. My ship had crash landed on Neptune. I was stranded for 25 years. I was sad and alone. I was chilled to the bone. Sometimes I cried a few tears. I'd given up hope of rescue, till one day from out of the sky, the ship came and landed on my lonely planet, and inside it there was this guy. He opened the door of his spacecraft. He smiled right at me and he waved. And I said, hallelujah. And he said, howdy do ya. And then he said, friend, are you saved? I said, I thought that's what you're doing. He said, no, friend, I don't mean a ride. I mean saved by the Lord. And as I jumped on board, I said, sorry, I'm a new age kind of guy. Well, he gave me a lift back to Kansas. That trip made Neptune seem like a vacation. 'Cause all the way home, he was saving my soul till I was moved to retaliation. I said, you know, I once felt as you do. And the shock made his eyes open wide. And he said, well, when was that? And I said, oh, it was a while back. In fact, it was in a past life. And when I died in that life and found heaven, I learned that everybody gets in. There were Buddhist and Muslim and Hindu followers. There were even astrologers. And then we all came back to earth and had to live again. And then I said, you're all wrong on the Bible too. because you take it too literally. It's a beautiful story, but it's allegory, and Jesus was like you and me. But that really ticked him off badly, and we argued so loud and so long, and for the rest of the trip we were flapping our lips, proving the other one wrong. Till about 1 week out from Old Earth Base, we were both too exhausted to care. There were 3 days of silence, fortunately no violence. And then he said, "Is there anything we share?" Well, I looked at him with new respect then. Said the one thing that I could think of. Said between you and me, maybe we could agree that what God's all about is love. Well, he sat there a while without speaking. Then he said yes, and Jesus told us that's true. So we just talked about love. He even gave me a hug, and we sang an old spiritual or two. Well, we got back to earth, we were famous, 'cause they'd never seen such a sight. We did all the talk shows, wound up on Jerry Springer. And we were cool, but the audience had a fight. Well, the moral of this story is simple. If you think someone else is all wrong, just imagine you're stranded on some lonely planet, and one day your opposite comes along. Thank you.
Thank you, Greg.
Hi, kids.
They're ready to come in. Look at that. Well, I'm going to run through some announcements, but let's go ahead and bless those love offerings and prayer requests, please. So, Elizabeth, if you don't mind bringing the prayer box over, and let's just send a blessing to those prayer requests, thanking those who filled those out, knowing that there is someone on these sheets that they care about and love, and it could even be for themselves. We hold them in our hearts and in the highest consciousness of things being resolved in divine order, because we do trust that it is not our will, but thy will is being done, and so it is. And we also bless those love offerings with gratitude, thanking each and every person, however way they give, to support this ministry, to support our buildings and facilities, these beautiful grounds, our staff. We are so blessed and so grateful. And with this, we say thank you, and so it is. Amen. So let's do some announcements, and then I'll get these kids in here. So we have got still a need for volunteers, and that is we need one in the bookstore, and we need, I think, 2 or 3 more people to help one Sunday a month in the youth program. We need 2 volunteers for the toddler nursery, because we have to have 2 for each age group. And then the youth, right now Sandy's running the youth program from 5 years old to 16. She's doing her best with what we have to work with right now. But so it takes 2 every Sunday. So 2 there, that takes 4 volunteers a Sunday that she's trying to manage. So she just needs 3 more people. If it speaks to your heart to help one Sunday a month, she would greatly appreciate that. There's also Chit Chat with Rev Kathy is, let's go ahead to that one. Volunteers, we've got that too, the bookstore. The next one should be Chit Chat with Rev Kathy. That's with me on Mondays, and we do that at 1 o'clock to 2. Everyone is invited. It is not a particular topic. We let it play out as to what the group needs every Monday. It's a really good group. Fun Bingo is next Sunday, and I don't want you to forget about that, because wear your Christmas attire. There are many gifts and gift cards, but the Mega Bingo, which is at the end, and it runs from 12:45 to 2. So at 10 till 2, we do the mega bingo, and that prize is up to $500. So it's well worth it to stay for that. Let's see. I want to also mention men's group is next Saturday. That's meeting at 9:30, and that'll be in the fireside room. Please, that's a cool group. And I believe, are you going to do the Mastery of Love? Which is Don Miguel Ruiz, one of his other books after the 4 Agreements. So that's going to be a really good one. And something that came up, and I didn't know until just yesterday, we're all invited. There's going to be a concert here next Saturday at 2 o'clock, and it's called Horns of Plenty. There are going to be 25 plus French horn players up here. And it's just going to be an hour-long concert, and all are invited. So I can't even imagine what this is going to sound like with 25 plus French horn players. But it ought to be awesome. So just know that that's going to be here next Saturday at 2 o'clock. And also, I want you to, yes, Love Blooms. That is one of our biggest and most sacred things that we do every year. And this is where you give a donation, which helps you get a poinsettia at the end of the Christmas season. So these have already been pre-purchased, but that's something that you get to take home with you. But it's in honor or in memory of someone. You can do both. Many people give a donation and they'll put in honor of someone, and they'll also put in memory of somebody else. And then slides are created, and the slides will be shown before and after services. And on Christmas Eve, we will do our best to read through those as a sacred time. So I just want you to know. And then Rev Sandy typically ends it up on our YouTube channel with music background, and it stays out in perpetuity, however long YouTube keeps it up there. So you can actually go back to last year's on YouTube and look at last year's presentation. It's really heartwarming. So please know Leslie is going to be in the lobby. If you need some help with filling out a form, you can also go through our website and you can fill it out electronically. So it's easy. And you can also call the office this week. But the deadline is Friday. We have to stop it because it takes time to get all these slides together and organized. So I hope you can understand that. Just want you to know, keep in mind our Sunday services for the holidays. It's going to be beautiful. Christmas Eve is going to be beautiful here. Candle lighting service. CCM musicians will be here. And then also on December 22nd, the Sunday before, that's when we metaphysically interpret this whole nativity set, where we show how each and every character, animals, people are all representation of an aspect of you. And I love it. It's one of my favorite services to do. And also the fun part is going to be that the Unity Singers will be here doing the music on December 22nd. So that's going to be really, really special. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. Bookstore. I can't say enough about that. I didn't bring things in here, but there is so many gifts in there. So if you want to take a peek, it's a beautiful place to just go hang out for a little bit. Now, the last but not least is Greg's comedy concert after service. So we have food downstairs because we've learned if you feed them, they will come. So I made a lot of smoked met cut up in chunks with barbecue sauce. We've got a big salad down there, dinner rolls. So please go downstairs, get something quickly to eat because Greg wants to get started at 12:45, if we can, okay? And if you want some more laughter, stay. So that's all I'm going to say. I'm looking forward to it. So with that, let's bring these kids in quickly and find out what we did this week. Hey, how are you?
We did,
Well, hello.
we did camels this week.
You did what?
We did camels this week.
Camels? Like that were in the nativity story? No, I have to hold it, okay? Yeah. Oh my goodness, now that is a dachshund camel. There you go, Sandy.
Hi, everybody. Today, we read a story called Humphrey's First Christmas. He was a baby camel. He lost his blanket. He got a new one. When he got to the crib set, he's like, why is the baby shivering? Why is the baby so cold? So he picks up his blanket, shakes it off his back, and puts it on the baby. So in remembrance of that, we made baby camels. And I don't know if you last week, excuse me a minute, kiddo. Last week I told you about the angel that we read, the story. Well, I decided to make tree toppers, one for the black family, the black community. I'm going to put every one of my children who've ever been to my class name in for that one. And I thought it was only fair to do a Caucasian one. So on the 22nd of December, I will be raffling off this one and the other one for each of the children who've ever been to class.
You made those?
I did.
My goodness. I love the camels.
I do too. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for all you do.
So, with that, let's stand.
And say the prayer for protection together. Hey. Ready? The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. And the presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. And if you want to, let's join hands for the peace song. But if you're not a hand holder, remember, keep your hands down, no forced hand holding, okay? As we sing together. You can help, we're going to share. Okay? We're going to let her start.
Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me.
Let her share. Let there be peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be. Now we got to share. God as our Father, family all are we. Let us walk with
each other in perfect harmony.
Let peace begin with me. Let this be the moment now.
With every step I take, let this be the joy as well.
To take each moment and live each moment in peace eternally.
Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me.
So if you want a little laughter, come downstairs, eat, and get back up here quickly. All right. Amen. There you go.